Hello, I'm Blaze, and this is Donkey Kong, the classic arcade game from Nintendo, in which you, Mario, or Jumpman, must rescue the Lady Pauline from the clutches of the titular ape. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with this, right? I mean, it's Donkey Kong, come on. But, I don't know, I figured there must be someone out there who is not aware of this game, or has never played it even, so I'm going to be playing it for you all today. I hope you enjoy. And we will begin after this demo ends. Yeah, if it wasn't clear enough, I'm not actually playing right now. The demo begins rather quickly, and whoever is playing this demo is not very good. Okay, now, if I say that, I'm probably going to fail anyway. You have one-player game A, B, two-player game A, B. A is easier, B is harder. I'm going to be showing off A first. And we begin the first level, 25 meters. And the first thing that happens, you'll see, is that Donkey Kong will drop a barrel from the top, it'll hit the oil drum, and a fireball will come out, which kind of means that fireballs were the first Mario enemy, I guess? Anyway, you see, Donkey Kong will throw barrels down the construction site at you, and you will have to avoid them. You can either jump over them, which grants you an 100-point bonus, or you can pick up one of these two hammers and smash them, which grants a 500-point bonus. Though when you're using the hammers, you might want to be careful, because even though it seems like you're invincible, you're not entirely. If the barrel does not actually connect with the hammer sprite, but it does connect with yours, you will take the hit. And in this game, any hit is a one-hit death. So, you're kind of vulnerable. Yeah, for those who are only familiar with newer Mario games or even Donkey Kong games, this game might seem a little odd with some of its mechanics and rules. One of which, in fact, I think I'll show it off next level. Despite the fact that Mario is known for jumping, and even here he received the name Jumpman, he can actually take very great falls. And I'm just kind of standing here, I guess, trying to talk. I don't know. Let's actually move on. And I kind of didn't want to make a fool of myself on the first level. Anyway, all you have to do is climb up this ladder to reach Pauline. You might want to go ahead and try to fight Donkey Kong. That's not going to work. Touching him results in a death. Now, here we are on the second level, 75 meters. The arcade version actually had a second level of 50 meters, but it was removed from the NES version, which I am playing. Anyway, don't do that. Walking off any ledge will result in a death, and even jumping from anything more than a slight height, I guess, will result in fall damage, which of course kills you. Now, actually, here's an umbrella. These are one of 3 of Pauline's items. Here there are only 2 available to us, but there is a third one that will appear in the third level. As I mentioned, I'm playing the NES version on a Wii U from the Wii U eShop. However, this game is also available on Wii, 3D. In fact, it's available on tons of things. Obviously, it's available on the original NES in cart form. It's available on Game Boy Advance as an NES Classic. It's very easy to come by. It's available on Commodore 64, MSX, if you happen to have one of those. Everything. Anyway, this is the third level, 100 meters, and we have to pluck these bolts out of the ground rather than avoid things that Donkey Kong throws at us. Also, you might notice the fires are bigger this time around, so you might want to avoid that. Also, obviously, you can't fall in these holes which you pluck the bolts out of, or it will result in a fall and therefore death. The fires are also a bit bigger, which means they're harder to jump over. And I didn't mention this before, but jumping over the fires does not actually grant a point bonus. Now, the fires aren't entirely intimidating, though, because they cannot cross the gaps in which you pluck the bolts from, and although they can climb up ladders, even broken ones in 25 meters, they can't change directions when climbing up the ladder, so once it begins climbing, you can know where it's going to go. Now, when you grab a hammer, which can take them out, they turn blue, which is very reminiscent of Pac-Man, actually, which is kind of funny because I believe Shigeru Miyamoto has stated that Pac-Man is one of his, if not his favorite video game character, and I better be careful here. Anyway, though, I don't know if this was entirely clear earlier. Pauline's items are only for point bonus. They don't do much else. And so we can pluck the final bolt. And actually, I should have grabbed the umbrella, but it doesn't matter. We're not too worried about points here, but what we are worried about is Pauline, and we have rescued her, so all is well, right? I'd like to say that, but it starts again. Yeah, like most arcade games, Donkey Kong is an infinitely looping game. Well, that's not entirely true. There is actually a kill screen. I believe the arcade version's kill screen was at, like, level... I don't remember, actually. I want to say, like, 22 or something. The NES version, I think, is at a level 133. And the reason it kills you is because there's a glitch involving the bonus timer you see at the top. Which... on level 133, it starts at 400, which is not nearly enough time to do anything. Maybe I should actually pay attention while I play. Anyway, what I was trying to say before that barrel rudely interrupted me was that it'll tick down way too fast for anything to actually be accomplished, and you will die time and time again until you run out of lives. Speaking of lives, I guess I could point out that what's at the top of the screen. You see your individual score, top score, live count, level count, which we are on level 2. I find it funny that it's M and L considering, you know, Mario and Luigi. Although Luigi didn't even exist at this point. The two-player game involves Mario and Mario. And you also see the bonus timer, which acts as both a timer and how many bonus points you receive at the end of the level. Now, I would show some... I would if I didn't die again. Maybe I should actually try to play the video game instead of just rambling about it. I was trying to display the fact that you can jump over 2 barrels at once if they are close enough, though you have to time it rather well. And also make sure that no other barrels will come at you. And that's another good point. Barrels can go down any ladders, even broken ones, and there's not really a clear indication as to when that'll happen. You'll also notice that Donkey Kong can throw the barrels in a zigzag pattern. So, that's kind of rough. You might want to watch out for that, and don't just rush ahead. Sometimes, I guess, you could risk it, and you'll probably get away with it, but not always. Like, right here, I didn't. Whew. Wow. That was amazing. You know, I've heard that talking and playing video games is difficult. I guess that showed it. That, or I'm just terrible. I'll just use that as my excuse to show off player game B. One-player game B specifically. It's the harder mode, and you're probably thinking, well, you suck so bad, you probably shouldn't be playing this, but you know what, we're going to. Now, there are some things different here, such as the general way the game flows, I guess, mostly. It's not a huge difficulty bump up, but it's apparent if you play it for a while. Anyway, though, two-player game A and B is similar. Player 1 is easier. Or player... I can't even talk right now. You know, I can't play video games or talk, so why am I doing this? Anyway, so, it works much the same. I'm just kind of trying to ramble and figure out things to talk about while I try not to die. That's another thing, in fact. That hammers aren't incredibly picky about how you pick them up. You do need to jump, but you can even jump away from them to actually pick them up. It's kind of funny, but I guess you could use that to your advantage at certain points. So anyway, though, have you realized how this game is rather odd? I mean, but it's not nearly as odd as some later Mario games. Have you realized how odd Mario games really are? Though I guess you could technically say this isn't a Mario game, it's a Donkey Kong game, right? I don't know. Whatever. And the only really time people talk about it is, it's the debut of Mario, and they usually ignore Donkey Kong Jr. and Donkey Kong 3. How many people actually know that Donkey Kong 3 exists? I don't know. I didn't know until, I'd say, I don't know, a few years ago, I guess? I don't know. I didn't really even talk about them last time. The thing is I guess Donkey Kong's not really throwing them, but they're coming from the left to the right. Those are jacks. They are rather erratic, and are deadly, but if you figure out the pattern, they're easy to dodge. Another point to mention is that this level 75 meters was actually a stage in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And I really like the stage, although it's not exactly the most well-designed stage, simply because of how it's laid out. And speaking of 75 meters, you'll notice I keep jumping from the pulleys to the higher row of, higher part of the construction site, but you can go down the lower part. It's just faster and easier to go the other way. Unless you miss the jump, which I've actually done before. That's not a good idea. You might want to try to avoid that, you know, because it's not a good It's not a good idea. Just don't do it. Okay, I'm being silly now. Anyway, that is one issue. You can jump or climb ladders when you're holding the hammer, so sometimes you just end up in those positions where you're just kind of stuck there. Anyway, yeah, don't touch Donkey Kong. As I mentioned earlier, it's not a good idea. It's not the best. Could just mess around here, or we could just simply pluck the bolt. You know, that's gotta hurt. That's kind of, you know, I don't know if that's completely humane. Wow, my voice went out for a second. Anyway, I don't know if that's completely humane, but I don't know. I think I'll go through one more loop, just, to play more, I guess. I don't know. I'm just doing this for fun, and I hope you are all having fun as well watching me completely play this game terribly. I don't know. Another thing I do kind of want to point out, have you noticed how the pile of barrels Donkey Kong pulls from never depletes at all? It doesn't even move, really. It's just a static sprite that just kind of sits there, and he just kind of, like, plucks them from whatever. I don't know. Wow. Okay. You know, I wasn't planning on this being entirely funny just with me dying, but it seems like it's kind of turning out that way. I don't know. I am a little off, I guess. I'm usually not this bad, believe it or not. I hope at least you're finding it funny. I don't know. Maybe I should just stop sucking up and actually pay attention to what's going on. So, something funny, okay, this might sound dumb if this is inaccurate, because it might be. I've heard this, though. The title Donkey Kong might seem kind of odd. It kind of sounds really English, actually, which it really kind of is. The creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, apparently came up with the name from a Japanese to... Let me try that again. From a Japanese to English dictionary that, or, you know, a dictionary that translates Japanese to English, or vice versa. It told him that donkey means stubborn, I believe, and so he thought that was a fitting name for a monkey, Donkey Kong. And apparently, I believe the story goes that when he presented it to the North American offices, they kind of laughed and thought it was hilarious, but it stuck, and it ended up being Nintendo of America's first success in the arcade business. And you realize this is way before, or not, I guess not way before, but quite a bit before the debut of the NES or anything, which is why this game appeared on so many other consoles that were not created by Nintendo, because Nintendo really didn't have consoles at the time. The Famicom and NES did not exist, so that's why it's on the MSX and the Commodore, and then Intellivision, the ColecoVision, the Atari 2600, Atari blah blah blah. I don't know. So yeah, you can find this game on everything. Like, you want to talk about a cash cow game, this is probably it. I'm gonna make that. Yeah, I made it. Okay. So, and that was lucky. Yeah, you might want to watch out. Donkey Kong can just drop them straight on top of you when you're climbing up that ladder on the far left at the top that I just climbed up. If you're trying to go for the hammer. So yeah, there's kind of a debate. Should you just try to go further, or should you try to rack up a high score? Because it's easier to get up if you just avoid the hammers and just go to the first complete set of ladders. But if you go later, you can actually reach the hammers easier. So what should you do? I don't know. There's some depth to this game, I guess. Yeah, for an arcade game, there's actually depth. Speaking of depth, or lack thereof, I think it's another funny story is the origin of Mario / Jumpman's design, in that it basically originated from complete laziness, not really laziness, mixed between laziness and technical limitations. Mario wears a cap because they didn't want to have to animate hair, which comes off as kind of weird to me, because I don't know how they'd efficiently animate hair anyway, but you know, I guess that works. And they added the mustache to avoid having to draw a mouth. So yeah, you want to talk about artistically cutting corners? There you go. And then that character went on and became probably one of the most, if not the most recognizable video game character of all time. and stored in bajillions of trillions of games. So I guess it all worked out in the end, right? Has this whole episode just turned into a history lesson? I don't know. But that is what happens when you have a game that has a lot of interesting history to it, I guess. I'm not the gaming historian or anything, but I mean, I guess I can go over stuff. Did you know? Am I trapped? I am not trapped. I'm stuck on the stairs. Stairs? Ladder. That was kind of really close. I'm surprised it didn't just corner me. Yeah, you want to talk about reminiscent of Pac-Man? I guess that's it. Come down the... Yay, I did it. So... after this, I think I'll end it off, because I'm kind of just rambling at this point. But I did get to talk about some things I want to talk about. Also, I guess there is one more thing, kind of, before we end off. Supposedly, and I believe this is accurate, Donkey Kong is Mario's pet. So, yeah, Donkey Kong is Mario's pet, and the reason Donkey Kong has kidnapped Pauline, supposedly, is because Mario abused him. Now, the accuracy of that, I believe it's true, but I'm not super confident in that. I believe that's right. Anyway, though, so, after tons of rambling and everything, I guess we've completed this. Or at least as far as I think we should go right now, because this is kind of just looping over and over. So, I think we will end it off right here. See you next time.